tell them that they should not go near food.
Oh.
Anything that concerns food, they should run away from it. She wants to close her business down. She wants to swallow herself. She just, and it all stems from ignorance because we didn't know a lot of things that we should have known. We just felt that once we know how to cook, if we sell it, people would buy. But the truth is, there are also so many people with the gift. So for myself, I said, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be in this position. I want to floss. I want to relax.
Baby girl.
I want to be a baby girl. You know what I mean?
Let's start what we have come into the room to do.
Hi, Anita.
Hello.
Thank you for having us today.
Thank you for... what's having me too? Thank you for having me too.
You look really great.
Thank you. This is why I kept you waiting.
That's fine.
I'm like, you know what? How can I, Yeah.
Okay, for the sake of people who do not know the one and only Anita Okereke, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your brand?
Yes, I can. That's why we're here.
Yes, that's all right.
My name is Anita Okereke. I am a multi-potentialite. I say this all the time because it is something I had run away from for the longest of times. Maybe I'll talk about that later, but I'm a multi-potentialite. I have a series of businesses and I wear a lot of caps. I like to call myself the head chef, although I'm not certified, but the truth is, when it's there, it's there. So I am the head chef of Eats by TKO. I have a Christmas decorating business that I've run for 4 years. I have my very first love, which is my event planning business that I've kind of put on the back burner because I've had so many things going on recently, and I'm also a content creator. So, aside being a mom, a wife, a daughter, a girl, but yes, this is me.
Okay, so let's start from the top. A lot of people love food. Some love to cook. But turning that passion into a full-blown business, that is quite another story entirely, right? So what inspired you to go into the food industry? How did Eats by TKO actually come to life?
This story is going to make this episode long.
You're here for it?
But the truth is, I like to say that God strangled my other businesses to bring me to this point. And I say it with every bit of conviction that I have because this was not the plan. And when I say this was not the plan, it's because my mother left banking after 12 years or more to own a restaurant. I saw her age faster than her peers. And this is in the 90s, early 2000s. For her, it was... I would call it hectic. She loved it. But for me, it was a lot of movement. She would, before what we know now as, catering for companies and whatnot, she was catering for multinationals, and it was around the clock every day. So I remember her coming back and she didn't have a team. She had cooks. But she didn't have procurement, inventory, those type of things.
We do now.
So we do now. So she would go to the oil and gas companies, their canteen, she would run it. So I won't even call it canteen, it was more like, I'll call it a restaurant. But she would go there. She had menus each month and I would see her with cookbooks sitting down every month trying to, bring out new recipes because it wasn't the regular kind of, as I'm not calling it canteen, it wasn't regular jollof rice, beans. She would have things like Jamaican rice on the recipe. She would have, and they would have dessert as well. You'd see cream caramel. You'd see also, so every month she's sitting down with her books, her cookbooks. Then now we don't have cookbooks, we have Google.
Yeah.
But then she would sit down with her cookbooks and she would be bringing out recipes upon recipes, curry, thyme, masala, different things, and then each day she would go there. They had already picked their menu before. They would eat. She would take their order for the next day. She would run to the market. She would buy the things for the market and come back. And it was a repeated cycle through the week And then weekends, she had parties. And then they weren't event planners. So she would also double as, once you had a caterer, the caterer was a decorator because she would just bring tablecloth and spread on the table. So for me, it was a very hectic cycle. I saw it affect her blood pressure. I saw it affect her social life because she also didn't have time to mingle and have friends. The most she would do was go for maybe village meetings. And, it wasn't until recently she now joined, when we had grown, she now joined like Catholic society and all of those things. So for myself, I said, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be in this position. I want to floss. I want to relax.
Baby girl.
I want to be a baby girl. You know what I mean?
A few years later.
My husband now got transferred to Aba. His company moved him out of town. So we had moved houses. I was a new mom. I had lost my job and I wasn't getting any other source of whatever. And, I had a new child. So I was just at home, spending from my savings and just doing whatever I could do, which was watch TV and lose weight. And then, my husband's birthday came and I said, so much has happened to us recently. Let's have a theme for this birthday. It was called Young Again. I gave it a theme I had never done. I said, Young Again. We've had too much responsibilities, new house far away, new kid. We're just children. Let's do something fun. So I said, breakfast in bed. We'll go to the arcade. We'll play. We'll keep the child in my auntie's house and we'll just have fun.
Wind down.
Yes, wind down. So he came in from Aba. I'm talking to my sister about the plan. I was like, let me message all these people that do breakfast trays. It'd be nice to carry the breakfast tray in bed, do breakfast in bed, blah, blah, blah. And I reached out to them, they said 70-something K. And are you and who? In 2019? What are people serving?
Back then,
That's
quite expensive.
It was expensive. I still have the DM. I'm like, 70-something thousand for what? A tray of how many things? So I decided I told my sister, I'm going to do it myself. I can cook. What is pancake? What are waffles? What are fruits? I'm going to do it, but I didn't have a waffle machine. So I looked online, drew me, saw a waffle machine for 7K. My sister said, I'll buy it for you. She was my younger sister, but she was like, yeah, I'll support it. So she bought the waffle machine and it came. I went to my auntie's house, packed fancy plates, and I did a spread. And in my usual fashion, I made videos for Snapchat and Instagram and just posted it. Had people just DM me. Where did this come from? Can I have it tomorrow? Where did this come from? I want it next week for my girlfriend's birthday. And
that was an eye-opener indeed.
I was like, fuck you. And that was it. I quickly went on Canva. Canva had just come out then. I did sharp, design, did menu, put it out. Had my first order, had my second order. Wow. And that was just it. That was a story of how that was a journey.
So moving on, how long would you say you've been officially in the food business now?
So I started in 2019.
Okay.
So that would make it 6 years. So we were 6 years in April.
Oh.
Because my husband's birthday was in March, at the end of March. So 21st of March, so shortly after that. So 6 years.
Yeah. I think I saw that post on.
Yes, exactly. So yes, yeah. That's how we started.
Okay, now we both know Lagos isn't the easiest place to run a business. Talk less of a restaurant. It's all the moving parts, right? What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your first year?
See, I was just saying to you guys that I have something that I'm working on and I can't tell you everything here, but one thing I would just encapsulate it into one word: ignorance. Ignorance was my biggest challenge because you kind of feel like once you have the gift, you're ready to go. It's just the way relationships are, where you say, well, once you're in love, it's all rainbows and sunshines. And the truth is that if you do not know the business of food, if you don't know what to look out for, you would dig your grave, you will bury yourself. And why it is so bad is that you would resent your gift. I have a friend who I've been talking to. We're both in the food business. We grew up together. I'll call her my sister. We grew up together in Port Harcourt and everything. And she was saying to me that there's just a random video on Instagram where kids were selling, they were trying to teach kids about finances and selling and what. I don't know if you guys came across it. It was a school. And I sent it to her. She said if she had a way, she would go and tell them that they should not go near food.
Oh.
Anything that concerns food, they should run away from it. She wants to close her business down. She wants to swallow herself. She just, and it all stems from ignorance, because we didn't know a lot of things that we should have known. We just felt that once we know how to cook, if we sell it, people would buy. But the truth is, there are also so many people with the gift. So if I had to tell anybody anything, I would say to you to please read up, ask questions, understand. Unfortunately, it's only up until recently that I'm now seeing things like Nigerian Food Summit and whatnot, and people in the industry are beginning to, come together to form like bodies where I kind of feel like you can learn from. Before, it's just every aboki with keto. But now, they're beginning to have forums and people are beginning to talk about, because there are a lot of problems in the food industry, volatility of the market, environment, how to start, where to start from, how to cost, staffing, a lot of all those things. But I'll just put it as a ballpark, and I'll say ignorance. I'll tell you that you're better off in the food industry as a business person than as a caterer, as a business person than as a chef. You would do better if you understand business more than you understand how to cook. That's what I've come to realize.
That's deep.
Yeah. Knowing how to cook is a cheap on the block ice. You're better off coming from a business background. Get people that know how to cook and run your business than say, oh, I know how to cook and I want to do it, because you'll be coming from a sentimental point of view. Your point of view is that people need to taste how good this food is. People need to, so you will do everything. When you say something where you say, I wash hand cook, that's you have put your sweat and your blood into it. That's us, because it's a passion. But then in doing that, you're putting all the resources, all the everything. Can you cost for it? And if you can't cost for it, you are burying yourself. So ignorance is the biggest impact.
Okay, so we know that no restaurants run without a solid team. Yeah. So from kitchen staff to front of house, it takes a village, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
So what's your approach to hiring and training your staff? Do you have like a team?
I don't, as a matter of fact. I am very much sponsored by God. I think that is very important for me to say, because the truth is, the only thing I know how to do in this business that I found myself is cook. Every other thing is vibes and the Holy Spirit. I need a chef. I put it out on Instagram. I need a chef. A couple of people come through and I look at them, and whichever one I feel settled with in my spirit, I go with. I don't have any. Now in the era of ChatGPT, I ask them a lot of questions. What should I look out for? What should I do? How should I go about it? And they help me, and I continue with it. I would say that even in my personal life as well, I've been very fortunate with staff. My head chef now at the moment has worked with me since the inception of the business. I had 2 chefs when I started the business. One only left in December. So that means he had stayed with me for 18 months, because the business is only 2 years now. When I mean the business, I mean the physical space.
It's by
yeah, the physical space. The business has been since 2019, but the physical space, when I started needing chef, because before then I had done it solely on my own. And I had no specific guide as to how to look for those people, the person that has been with me till now. I remember just asking around. I posted it on my WhatsApp. Someone messaged me, I know a good guy. He came, I saw him. He looked like great spirit. And I'm like, okay, yeah, here we go. I feel like skills are very transferable. I feel like if you're first a good person, you can learn the rest, as long as you have the desire to learn it. So for me, I don't particularly look for skill, or I haven't particularly looked for skill. There was no chef that I had that I said, oh, cook for me, let me taste, let me know whether you can. It's off of what they tell me. They tell me, oh, I've worked here, I can cook. I look at them as a person, I look at their vibe, I look at their attitude, and I'm like, okay, I kind of feel like you can work for me. So for me, that's really how it has gone. There's nobody I've had that I'm like, oh, let me see your skills. Let me see what it is that you've done. I focus more on them as a person, because for me, I feel like if you have the fear of God in you, the rest is pretty much, you will learn on the job. You will learn on the job, because all the recipes we have, I can tell you categorically 95% of the recipes that we have at the bistro came from me. So as long as you know how to turn a pot decently, you would learn the job. I will teach you what you need to know. I will guide you at least as far as you have the basic, know-how. Exactly. So it's just God. I pray fervently before I hire a staff. The one staff I hired that I regretted and I let go of, I knew from the beginning that she was going to be a problem. I could see it. And she wasn't my first choice. I had a first choice. The first choice had to leave because I was a bit desperate. I went back to her. She wasn't all bad, but the issues I had seen in the interview were the issues that, so God has been, because he knows, the Bible says that we're made, what's the word now? We're made strong. He's made, what's that? I've lost it now, but essentially in our weakest point is when we're strong in him. He shows himself more when we're at that weakest. So he knows my weak points, and that's why he comes through. So even in terms of staffing, I haven't really struggled. I've had one social media manager since the beginning of the business. She's been with me till now. So that's just how I've rolled,
Awesome. So you've spoken about ChatGPT. So I know that now we're in the era of AI using ChatGPT. So how has that impacted your business from inception to date?
Very much positively. I would say to you that it cannot replace critical thinking. AI cannot replace critical thinking. You have to know what you're looking for to be able to decipher the answers you receive. I would say that ChatGPT has been very helpful because I ask it questions that I already am, what's the word?
Familiar with?
Not even familiar, and the answers are in the neighborhood. I just kind of needed to fine tune it for me. So for example, I know that a business like mine, maybe I've seen, business people in my kind of field now are talking business development, are talking culinary directors, are talking marketing. I don't know anything about those things, but I know that those are things that are pivotal in my industry. I would ask it, what are the roles of, business dev, blah, 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 blah. This is where we're at now. Do you think that these would work? This is a random example. I had to tell me, yes, this is what they will do for you, blah, 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 blah. So now I know what to look for. So it has been very funny now that we're talking expansion. It has been very instrumental in guiding me along the technicalities of the food industry, because what I know is the creative side. So AI has been such a great tool for me. I would just tell you that it can never replace critical thinking,
With the way the economy is set up now, would you actually recommend starting with a full restaurant space or going delivery only to first test waters?
So I'm going to have two answers to this question. The God that sent you will sponsor you. That's the truth.
Period.
That's the honest truth. If he sent you on this errand, he will make provision for it. But the technical truth, as a human being who has gone through it, if I had to do it again without explicit direction, right? Because there's also the what you find your hand to do it. And there's the take up your cross and follow me. Right? If you're in a place where you haven't heard explicitly, but you have a nudging, because essentially God works with what is in your hands. So if you're working with what is in your hands, I'll say start with delivery. Start with delivery, because there are a lot of things that come with spaces that you may not be able to handle. Even I that started from my house and did my house for 4 years, when I opened the new space, I was like, I shouldn't have opened dining. Even if I was moving from my house, I should have moved to just a kitchen, But the truth is, the God that sent me has kept me afloat. It has not been easy. It hasn't at all. I might have called it my biggest regret, except that I have seen the evident hand of God in the growth and visibility and direction of, basically the tangent in which we've gone, the projectile, growth or whatever you want to call it. So yes, I would say if you have instruction, the way he gave, who would he say go and kill your son? Who was that?
Moses.
It wasn't Moses. It was Abraham.
Abraham, sorry.
Yes, if he says that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, if he gives you instructions, like Abraham, carry your child, go and kill, you go with it. But if it is the gift that he has put in your hand, I will tell you, start small. Because even the Bible says, though you had little beginnings, you would end with much. So start in the little beginnings and then just work your way up. It's a lot easier that way. Yeah.
As an entrepreneur who runs a food business, what's your take on having your business featured on festivals and events alike?
I think it's fantastic. I think it's really fantastic, especially for SMEs, small businesses like mine. The truth is that a lot of us don't have the resources. We don't have the knowledge required to put our businesses out there by ourselves. So what these festivals and pop-ups do is that it brings us to an audience we otherwise would not be able to reach. Right, and it really is instrumental to our growth. You have people who have created an environment. They've put it together piece by piece to ensure that you meet the right audience. You have people who have gathered vendors alike and put them in a space. It gives us visibility. It helps us understand our products better. I had not done anything like that until I did the GTB Food and Drinks Festival I just did recently, GTCO Food and Drinks Festival I just did recently. And the truth is that beyond meeting so many people, beyond the visibility and the exposure, and the sales that it has brought to me, it made me understand my products more. It made me understand that there was a space for me in the market. It made me understand that I am doing what I should be doing, because before there was a lot of doubt, clearly for me, a lot of doubt. Should I be doing this? In what way should I go with my cuisines? How should I handle this? Who should I meet? Who should I talk to? Doing that, I networked with people alike, vendors, fellow young chefs like me as well. We became acquainted. I have a group of people I can randomly message now and say, oh, hey, it was nice to meet you then. How do you, because a lot of us, we have a lot of similar issues that I feel like if we come together laterally in a sphere without having to go up, we can tackle them ourselves. So what that does for you is that it brings you in space with those people you otherwise would not be able to meet. It also makes you meet people as well who interact with your product, and then you begin to understand your products better, in the sense that now I know that, okay, this thing I'm doing, I can do it better. So I had some recipes I otherwise hadn't put forward before. I always had them in the back burner. And then bringing them out at the festival, I began to understand, okay, there's actually a need for this. I can actually put this like this. I can package it in this way. And said before, I just felt like, this one is just one of the things. But now I know that I can center this. It's not big money, but in quantity, I can get, so things like that. You begin to understand the different things that you have always had that, people were just taking one. You didn't know how to, I don't know if I'm making sense, but you didn't know how to, sell it right, But with that festival, I now know that, okay, some things are good for this. Some recipes are good, some products are good for mass production. Some products are good for only gourmet experiences. Some products are really bestsellers and you put them in the back burner. And some products, you can improve on just by having people en masse interact with you. So I think that you learn a lot, you experience a lot, you meet your customers as well. And yeah, all round, it's a great experience. I'd say fantastic.
When you go for events like the GTCO Food and Drink Festival, right? Do you focus more on making sales, or is it more about visibility and brand awareness?
So I think it's both. And the truth is, I don't want to run at a loss. I've invested so much money in it. At the very least, I would like to break even. At least get the money I put in back, right? I don't necessarily have to make a profit. A profit is a plus. If I can get the money I put in back, that's good. But then the visibility is even better. So I wouldn't say one without the other, because I don't want to spend that amount of money. I spent, in upwards of millions. I spent over 2 million in just getting ready for the event alone. Because, for us, we hadn't done something of that magnitude. So we needed to, buy equipment that would help us make things in bulk. We knew that, okay, if we wanted to be inside the hall, for example, we can't use open fire of such. We can't use this, we can't use that. So normally where we would use gas, we had to find electric alternatives for that. So of course I had to buy that, build some things that would help you, fit all of these, buy more equipment so that we're not running around one equipment. So what we would normally do in the kitchen with 2 pans, you have a lot of people in front of you, you're going to do with 4 pans, with 4 containers, with 4, that kind of thing. So a lot of investment in equipment alone, minus the actual ingredients that you will use, because you need to have food to be able to serve to the people. So it's not an amount of money I can lose as a business and be okay. So at least I want to be able to make the money back. Profit was a plus. However, the exposure is something you cannot buy. You can't buy it. The feedback is something you cannot buy. The level of confidence I have come out of that experience with, I'm not sure, I don't know where I would have gone to buy it. The audacity I have come out with that experience with, because now I know that there are actually people that want this thing. You aren't just, before I felt I was just doing it for myself, but now I know that no, actually, there are people that need this thing, there are people that want it, and there's food everywhere, but your food is also wanted, so that experience, is a take home. The exposure as well, people who have not experienced you before and have come to experience, you see them come the first time, go. Come back again with 2 more people, go. They come and buy to take home. There's something that does to your mind. There's a certain level of satisfaction and awareness that brings, to you. So even the exposure for me as a person and the exposure to people as well who have now interacted with the brand, I don't think it's something that you can buy. So I think that everybody should experience it at least once. It will let you know whether you're even in the right space or not, whether you're doing the right thing or not, and I think it's both. But if I had to put it on a scale of 100, I'd say if I can just break even, call it 50% for money, but 70 to 100% for the exposure for both yourself and the exposure to people as well.
So let's get into my favorite part, which is your content. I am a big fan of your content. In fact, I have tried recipes from your page, right? So you don't just serve food, you serve content. Your videos, reels, recipes, they're always engaging.
Yeah.
Right. So when did you realize that content could be a game changer for your food business?
The truth is, as I won't say corny, but as cliche as this might sound, I am honestly nothing without God. Nothing without Him. Because I didn't realize anything. I was just doing. And in the doing, it so happened that it was good. You said you had tried my recipes.
Yes.
I always had it in mind to be a food content creator. Not that I always had it in mind. I can cook. I would always do it on my Snapchat then, and people would be like, oh yeah, this is really nice. You should, make this a thing. So I had the name I wanted to use in my head, the kitchen organizer. But I just thought I wanted to be perfect. I wanted to get a DSLR. I wanted to get the right lights. I wasn't going to use my phone. I wanted to do things like that. So I put it on the back burner. And then It's by TKO happened. And then, in fact, actually It's by TKO because it's by the kitchen organizer. But what is funny is that I started It's by TKO before the kitchen organizer. So that's why I'm saying that I didn't know anything. Because I knew I wanted to be the kitchen organizer. I had that name. I hadn't started it. But then the opportunity came to start doing the business when my husband's birthday thing happened. And I said, okay, this would be It's by the kitchen organizer that I hadn't even started. And I would just randomly take pictures of the food and post it, and that was that. And when I felt like I was ready to now start the kitchen organizer, I started the kitchen organizer. And I started posting recipes and whatnot. It just so happened that because I already had It's by TKO, when I would post that one, I occasionally post my business. People are like, okay, this is the girl.
Yeah.
And then it would direct them to my business. So it wasn't strategic. It wasn't planned. It was just orchestrated by God in a way where it all tied together. Because how is it that I started the food by the kitchen organizer that I hadn't even started? You know what I mean? So everything just played out the way God wanted it to play out. But moving on, of course, I now realize that, it's great that they are, in tandem. Yeah, so of course I would always do that as well, and then got to a point where I haven't really been able to do recipes as much because I got really busy. But then of course I now knew the importance of having great social media presence, and so I have a social media manager as well that tries to be, tries to keep me in the fore as much as possible, to the best of our abilities. So I would say that I didn't know until I started. And with a lot of things as well, you learn on the job. So I didn't wake up saying that, if I have this and I have this, it would. No, I didn't. It just happened. And I've gone with the flow and I've learned that it's a good pair. So yeah.
So would you advise people who want to get into the food industry to try to build a huge following at first, or just start doing something to just build an online presence?
I'll tell you to listen to what God is telling you to do. Listen to what God is telling you to do, because there are people who their communities have been their downfall. You would say to yourself that you want, and I was talking to a good friend of mine about this a few weeks ago, about a month ago. And I was saying to him that, do I build a community, alongside the brand? Because I've seen brands who are very popular because of their the individual has built a community. And I've also seen people who have built a very successful brand and they're just their own person, And he said something very pivotal to me. He said, it's better for you to build a brand, right, that can stand regardless of you. That can stand on its own, come hell or high waters. And then maybe you can build your community out of people who like your brand and like, let me find out who this person is. That way what happens is, if for any reason you make mistakes as human beings, they don't, what's the word, tie it to the brand. It's like, she's a stupid girl, but at least her food is good. You know what I mean? They have understood and come to love your brand and adopted your brand as it is. However, you build a community and then you start selling them, I do this. What happens is, when you make mistakes as human beings, one day you wake up now, you want to support one president that his head is not correct. it will affect your brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You wake up now, you say the wrong thing, maybe you make one anti-Semitic statement by mistake, or you crack a very terrible joke. It affects your brand. They're like, boycott, 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 that kind of thing. So honestly, I would just say, listen to what, the Holy Spirit is telling to you, whatever spirit it is that sponsors you, but yeah, just do that. But if I had to tell you, I'll tell you, build your brand. And that is not to say that if you already have a community, don't leverage on it. By all means, you already have it, leverage on it. But make sure to build a solid brand that can stand. Because the honest truth is that when you're talking about scalability as well, you won't live forever. You won't live forever. You want to, if you're looking to build a legacy, if you're not just building a brand for survival, you're looking to build something that would outlive you. What happens when you're no longer there? People feel like, oh, Anita is no longer there anymore. Anita has transitioned. Anita is sick now. Anita, God forbid, I'm old and I've died. Her brand is not going to be what it used to be. But if you have built a solid brand that people know that this one is a household name, doesn't matter what happens to you. Your brand will outlive you. So I think I'd say build your brand. Yeah.
What's the biggest lesson you learned in this food journey so far? This is something that the hustle has taught you that school or books probably wouldn't.
I've learned a lot of things. There's so many things I can talk about right now, but if I had to say one thing, I would say that, and I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. And since I can't come up with a phrase, maybe I'll just explain it in the best way possible. But I think that I would say you can't do it all. And it's very important for you to know what your strengths are, because you're only as good as, what's the word I'm going to use now? As your sense of it. I don't know how do I explain? There's a way people say it. Most people don't know how to speak English, but it's not coming to me now. Essentially is, what are your strengths? Focus on your strengths. Outsource the rest. Because if you try to do, let's say you're a chef and you're trying to handle business development, that's not your strength. So you're going to limit that aspect of your business to the level that your mind is at. You know what I mean? So if your mind cannot understand the full grasp of business development, your business is going to be stunted in that particular level. So that is something that I've come to learn. So you can't do it all. Don't think that you can do it all. Outsource when necessary. That's one thing I'm going to say. Another thing I'm going to say is, did you ask for only one, or you asked for a couple of lessons? So I don't.
No, one.
Okay, one. So that would be the most pivotal one, I'd say.
If you have other lessons.
Yes, another one I'll say is that sometimes you're going to use money to get money. As an entrepreneur, I felt like if I could keep all the money in, it would help me as much as possible. But the truth is, sometimes you're going to have to expend the money to make money. And I know that because in small businesses, you want to save as much as possible for the rainy day. So you're hogging all your funds. You're going to stunt yourself. So if you're in a position where you feel like you need to expend money, expend resources, you're going to have to give out food for free. You're going to have to give out food for free. If you don't have the money to give out resources for free in exchange for leverage or exposure. You're going to have to, do videos. It's probably going to cost you money. You're going to have to hire social media, because with that as well, you're going to give yourself the visibility. So, I kind of feel like it flows into the first lesson in sense that you're going to learn to outsource, but also as well, you're going to need to spend money in order to get yourself to where you need to be. You might spend money in hiring staff, in employing the right people, in giving out resources for leverage. You're going to have to do more than just what you can do, because if you limit it only to yourself, you're going to stunt your business. That's what I'm going to say.
What advice do you have for an entrepreneur who is looking forward to start a food business?
Just start. What do you have to lose? You know what I mean?
Right.
Just start. Open an Instagram page. That's the first thing right now. Start with what you have. and then you know whether you should be doing this or not. The truth is that God is going to have to use what is in your hands to take you wherever you need to go. Ask as much questions as you can ask. Some people are going to respond to you, some people are not going to respond to you, and that's okay. But just ask as much questions as you can ask and start. A lot of things you will learn on the job, a lot of things you will learn from Google, ChatGPT, from people. But if you keep waiting until you have all the answers, you will never really start. So I'll tell you to just start and commit the rest into the hands of God.
Amen. Finally, what is next for you? What is next for It's by TKO? More locations, product lines, or maybe a cookbook, recipe book. I mean, what's
Not a cookbook. That's for certain. It's not a cookbook now. Expansion is what is next for It's by TKO. Not more locations, but another location. We want to move from where we are currently because we've had, need for more hands, more production. So we want to move from where we are currently. I've also had it in mind to include products as well. So by God's grace, you guys will soon be seeing products from It's by TKO. I like to tell people that the goal for It's by TKO is to be on every breakfast table. That has always been my goal for It's by TKO. If you're not eating our food, you're using our food to make, or you're using our products to make your breakfast. Yes, so you're going to see, by God's special grace and sponsorship, a couple of products in line with our business breakfast line of products coming out soon after we move to a new space. We might have a new dining space, who knows? But the truth is that we're getting a bigger kitchen and employing more hands so that we can deliver more. We're looking at proximity to our customers because we found that a lot of issues that we have centered around delivery and access to us as well. People, so we're looking for somewhere where it's more central for a lot of our customers. We've done this for 2 years from that particular location. We find that a lot of people are centered in a particular place, so we want to be in that place, have more access to people, our customers, so we can cut down on delivery, cut down on accessibility, and then focus on the things that actually matter. So yes, we're looking to expand. We're looking for investors. If you have ideas, share with us. I'm very receptive to a lot of feedback as well. Just because I have come to realize that I don't just I'm not doing this business for survival alone. I want to leave a legacy for my kids. I want something that would outlive me. So right now I'm thinking big picture. I'm not just thinking about the next, 1-2 years. I'm thinking about how I want to take this, to the world, and how I want to make this something that would outlive me. So that really are the next steps, building a big brand, legacy, a brand that can stand independent of me, expansion, new product lines. Yeah. So a lot of ideas, a lot of things are in the works, sponsored by the one who has sent me.
Thank you so much, Anita, for sharing your journey with us. You've given us a real inside look at what it takes to run a food brand in Nigeria and also still stay creative. So thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, the brand plug. I hope that I've been able to impact some people with some of the knowledge that I have. So if you're watching this, I hope you've learned something. And while you're at it, subscribe, like, and comment the Brand Plug Co. on YouTube and on other social media platforms. It's by TKO. I need you guys to follow the brand. I need you guys to follow the kitchen organizer. I need you guys to engage the Christmas elves as well. And yes, just come along with me on this journey and learn some more with me as I continue my sojourn.